a couple of weeks back, I was out and about in town and I ran into an old friend of mine who owns a business. And I just asked, how are things going? What's been going on lately? And immediately his eyes got really heavy, like his smile dropped, like his shoulders dropped. And I could see like all written all over his body how heavy whatever it was that he was carrying. And he said, Dr. Sabrina, you've known me a long time. You know that I've been through, really good periods in the business, and then there have been challenging periods. He said, but lately it's just been so hard and so challenging. And our cash flow is really terrible. We've had people who haven't been paying their bills on time. I'm having to call them. I'm having to hound them. I can't pay subcontractors because of, I'm struggling with getting money from people. And as I was listening to him, I was hearing not just the challenge in the business, but then he started talking about how this was impacting his marriage, his relationship with his children. He's working late. He's missing meals with the family. He's missing his kids' events. He is so tired and strung out all the time. He says, even when I have an extra hour or two, I go home and I just zone out. And my wife told me she's fed up. And she said, I've seen you go through this time and time again in the business, and I'm just done. And as he was telling me this, I was I was really feeling for him and the situation, but I was so aware that what he's describing is not unique to him. This is what we hear business owners talking about all the time. You have this growing business and there's signs of health, there's signs of things that are going right. But every time you feel like things are starting to turn around, it's getting better. This is finally it. I'm going to get this business where it needs to be, and I can have some breathing room myself, and my life is going to get better. Then a piece falls out, right? And then you're right back into the struggle again. And that can go on for years, and it can feel like, I don't think this is ever going to end. Like, this is going to be my life going forward. And that's a very depressing thought. That's where burnout starts to set in. And it's not just impacting you, the business owner, but it's impacting multiple areas of your life. And it's so significant. So I'm about to share a key training with you that I have been delivering to business owners now for many years. And it's something that I have used myself for over 20 years as I've grown Tap the Potential. I want to offer this to you because I want you to know there is hope, that you don't have to stay in this boom and bust cycle in your business. And you don't have to be struggling to just keep it all together all the time as your business grows. There is actually a way for your business to grow with you working less, and you working less actually ignites the growth in your business. And I'm not just talking about revenue growth, I'm talking about profit and owner's pay growing in your business. So sit tight, get ready, because in the next 30 minutes, I'm going to share something with you that is mind blowing around how to make your time worth $10,000 an hour so that you can free up your time and focus on the things that really matter most to you, your family, the experiences you want to create with them. That's what it's all about. Hello, and welcome to this highly impactful training on how to make your time worth $10,000 an hour. I'm Dr. Sabrina Starling. I'm the business psychologist and the founder of Tap the Potential. We've been in business now for over 20 years, and that's going to be important to you because when I founded Tap the Potential, I was committed to having a business that would support my life versus a business that would grow and take over my life. I have run Tap the Potential on 25 hours a week or less. Right now, I'm currently working under 10 hours a week for the last 20 years, and it has grown over 20 years by me working less.
What I'm going to be revealing to you today is the foundation of how I've done that at Tap the Potential, how I have written my international best-selling series on how to hire the best, and my book, The 4 Week Vacation, while working 25 hours a week and growing this company to serve business owners like you who feel like your business is growing, and that's great, but it's taking over your life. And enough is enough. So, we are going to dive in, and I'm going to be sharing with you the mindset and the systems and the foundation that you need so that you can take your life back from your business. And you'll have lots of options for what that's going to look like for you. You may want to work a 25-hour work week, or maybe you want to take a 4 week vacation, or maybe you want to do both, or maybe you want to work a 25-hour work week and take 6 weeks vacations. That's possible too. I know because I've done it. Currently, I'm working about 10 hours a week or fewer. I'm not even sure now, but I know it's less than 10 hours a week. And I'm taking 4 week vacations, 2 week vacations, 3 week vacations. So I know what is possible for you when you have the tools and systems to attract A players, how to hire the best, and put them in roles where their time is worth $10,000 an hour. So, yes, this training is not just for you. This is for your team members as well, because every one of us has $10,000 an hour time that we can be doing in our businesses. And the challenge is we get so bogged down in putting out the fires and managing issues on a daily basis, we don't get around to doing the highest value work that we individually can be doing in our businesses, much less getting our team members focused on their highest value contributions that drive the profitability. At Tap the Potential, our clients are coming in and within 30 days, shaving off 10 hours a week of their work week, stopping work at a set time each day, 5 o'clock or sooner each day, and fully taking weekends off, fully unplugged within 30 days of starting with us. And this training on how to make your time worth $10,000 an hour is the foundation of how we're making that happen. Beyond 30 days, what can you expect when you're in our Better Business, Better Life program? If you give us 5 hours a week of $10,000 an hour time, we can guarantee you that you will be able to take a fully unplugged 4 week vacation within 12 months. Yes. So this training is the foundation. So I want you fully focused. I want you fully present here. Show up for yourself. Turn off distractions. The first thing to do is make sure you've downloaded my chart of $10,000 an hour activities at tapthepotential.com/10K. So now as we dive in, I want to invite you to think about the successes you want to have in the next 1 to 2 years. So just take a moment and write those down on a piece of paper. This is just for you. No one will see what you write down. And if you need to press pause, give yourself that space. Think about the wins and successes that you want to experience in the business and in your personal life in the next 1 to 2 years. And also think about the experiences you want to have in the next 1 to 2 years. Just make some notes about this on a piece of paper. What if I told you that only about 8 hours of the work you do each week over the next 2 years will be responsible for these opportunities, experiences, and successes? Right? That's amazing. You don't need to work 40, 50, or 60 or more hours each week to make these things happen. You just don't. You're working way too hard. It's mind-blowing, right? We're going to come back to this. First, I want to share a little bit about my journey. We're going to go back in time to a cold January afternoon. My daughter does not like going to swim team practice, but she likes that I swim with her at the end. So that's what I'm doing to encourage her. And she's giving me pointers on my stroke because she likes teaching her mom. This little boy walks up And he looks at me and he says, "Are you learning to swim? You're really making progress. You should stick with this." And I think, how sweet of him encouraging me like that. What he says next grabs me. "It's really cool that you come to practice and swim with your daughter. I wish my dad would do that." Then he proceeds to tell me his dad works a lot. He craves more time with his dad. And what a powerful reminder to me about what really matters to my daughters, not how successful their mom is. They crave my attention and my presence. That little boy just witnessed me being present with my daughter. Being emotionally present is the greatest gift we can give another human being. And in that moment, I feel incredibly successful because my work is supporting my life. Does your work support your life, or is it the other way around? I left my office at 3 o'clock that day in the midst of a pile of work, and it was tempting to take my phone with me and just keep working at the pool. But instead, I put my phone away and I watched my daughter swim. This isn't a new decision. It's one I've been making every day for the last 18 or 19 years now. I focus on completing my highest value activities first each day. And I call these my $10,000 an hour activities because these activities make other tasks easier or unnecessary. And each of us has these $10,000 an hour activities. We are doing them when we're working from our strengths and we are adding value by making other tasks easier or unnecessary for ourselves or for others. By prioritizing my high value $10,000 an hour activities, I can stop work at a set time each day, leave the office, and keep work from spilling over into my personal life. It hasn't always been this way, though. 20 years ago, I was burning out as a psychologist at a rural community mental health center. There was not enough of me or my fellow team members to go around. I'm in my early 30s. I've just invested years in graduate school. I'm a few years into my job, and I'm thinking, is this how the rest of my life will be? Grinding it out, coming home emotionally drained and depleted day after day. Around that time, I stumbled on a course about life coaching. And that seemed like a great way to repurpose my skills as a psychologist because the course was all about learning from the inside out, meaning we had to walk our talk. Anything we asked our clients to do, we had to be willing to do ourselves. And the first assignment was to journal for 1 hour on this powerful question: what do I want? This was tough. I rambled some disconnected thoughts, and then clarity emerged. I want my work to support my life, not the other way around. I want to work no more than 25 hours a week so that I can be present with myself, with my family, and with my clients. Being emotionally present is the greatest gift we can give another human being, just like I was able to do that day at the pool with my daughter. Working 25 hours a week is one of the best decisions I ever made. Limits force innovation and creativity. A 25-hour work week has taught me to be laser focused on being effective, not busy. I've learned to pay attention to what works and to do more of that. I've learned skills to avoid overwhelm and burnout as I built a successful company. And from the very beginning, I've carried a burning question: how do I grow a successful business without it taking over my life? Even though I wasn't born yet, my entrepreneurial journey started in the 1950s with Slim Starling. It's the 1950s. Elvis booms from the speakers. It's the day of muscle cars. And my grandpa, Slim Starling, an entrepreneur, chases growth and opportunity. Can you relate to this? I know I certainly can. He wanted to sell more gasoline. He installed a big screen on the back roof of one of his gas stations, and he gave away a free ticket to the show for every 5 gallons of gas purchased. The idea clicks. Cars come in droves. Gas station attendants can't even get to the pumps, and gas sales boom. And no one, not even my 11-year-old dad, gets away with playing because now there's work to be done. My family is not only in the gas station business, they are now in the gas station and drive-in movie theater businesses. And even back then, it was tough to find reliable help. So everyone in the family, including my 11-year-old dad, worked in the businesses. Those businesses, as successful as they were, took over my family's lives. Can you relate? Yeah. This is a picture of me with my dad. We're on a family outing to a lake. Yet, look closely at my dad. He doesn't look relaxed. He looks preoccupied and stressed. 7-year-old me watches my dad scarf down his food and rush out the door to get to work. My mom explains, Sabrina, your dad never got to sit down and eat a relaxed meal as a family. They always ate on the go, usually out of the concession stand popcorn, hot dogs, nachos, soda pop. As a child, I watched my dad work tirelessly from dawn to dusk every day, 7 days a week. And the legacy being passed down through 3 generations is get your work done before you play. There's always more work to be done. The value of a day is determined by how much got done. Busy is good. This legacy stops with me. Grinding it out grinds us up. Hustle culture is toxic and it's pervasive. Work harder, sacrifice your health, your well being, and your personal relationships, all for the sake of success. I was astonished when I started collecting data from my book, The 4 Week Vacation. I surveyed over 225 entrepreneurs and found that 9 out of 10 of us is burning out. The average length in business of those we surveyed is 12 years. The most frequently reported number of days entrepreneurs say they are able to be away, fully unplugged from their business, is 0 days. 8 out of 10 of us find it hard to switch off and not think about the business. 1 out of 2 of us has neglected basic needs such as sleep, healthy eating, or social interaction in the last 3 days because of work. Can you relate to that? Yeah. This is why I am so honored to be here with you, sharing my journey. And it's my sincere hope that what I've learned benefits you. What I've learned over the last 20 something years through my own experience, through coaching thousands of entrepreneurs and their high performing teams, and conducting research now with well over 700 entrepreneurs, is that working harder and longer hours is not the key to success. Working effectively makes the greatest impact. Limits force innovation and creativity. I want you to imagine that you only have 25 hours a week in your business to get everything done. How are you going to do it? This is the exact dilemma that I put myself into years ago. So when I started Tap the Potential, I had a newborn baby. She was my first child, and I was only willing to put her in with a babysitter for about 25 hours a week. So I decided I'm going to have to make this work on 25 hours a week. I had taken her to the babysitter. She was about 4 weeks old. She had woken up that morning and had gotten sick. So she had, vomited, messed her jammies up. I cleaned her up. I rushed out the door. I got her to the babysitter. And then I came back home and I needed to hunker down and get to work. Well, you can imagine this is one of the joys of working from home, right? I walk in and I smell immediately that smell from sick baby. And I knew I couldn't get any work done. I had to go do laundry. So I'm in my laundry room and I have this massive meltdown, blubber crying, big ugly tears because I'm so overwhelmed. Like I have so much to do to get this business running and get it going. But yet here I am in the laundry room doing laundry. And I'm just crying, crying. And you know how you have that feeling after you have a good cry, like sometimes you have clarity. I had a question come over me, and it was, Sabrina, if you can only get one thing done today, what's the most important thing for you to focus on and get done? Like, what's really going to move the needle and get your business moving forward? So I knew my answer to that question. That kind of really boiled it down to the, bare bones of things. And I felt some peace around that instead of this frantic, chaotic, I've got so much to do. So I went and I did that one thing. And I got that done. I had to go, I had a few hours, got it done. I had to go get my daughter. I didn't get everything on my list done, but I got that one thing done. And I felt good about that because I knew I had done something that was moving the business forward. And yes, there was a lot on my list that got pushed to the next day, but I did the same thing for myself the next day. I came in, I felt overwhelmed because I had about 5 hours and I had a long list of things to get done. And I just paused. I put the list away. I didn't even look at the list. And I centered, I breathed, and I asked myself, Sabrina, if you can only get one thing done today that's going to move this business forward, what is that one thing? What can you do? So I started doing that every day, focusing on the first thing that I'm doing is my highest value activity that's going to move the business forward. A few years later, Gary Keller wrote the book, The One Thing, and he has a great variation on this question. What is the one thing I can do right now such that everything else will be easier or unnecessary? That's powerful. So, as a new coach, I learned that the best way to market myself was speaking and writing. So, I was speaking wherever they would have me Chamber of Commerce, Lunch and Learn, Rotary Club, Kiwanis Club. I was there, I was speaking. And I also collected email addresses from the participants and I started sending out a weekly newsletter. And I sent out one article a week with a newsletter. And I started thinking about this time as my $10,000 an hour activity to keep a high value on my time. Mainly, it made it hard for me to blow past these blocks on my calendar when I labeled them $10,000 an hour time, because as a new coach, like I just needed business. So anytime somebody needed something from me, I was stopping whatever I was doing that was important for growing the business and going and taking care of a client need. Probably you can relate to this, right? What I realized though is I didn't want to give away my $10,000 an hour time even for client appointments. And that was a real subtle distinction is I started valuing my time when I was working on high value activities over delivering services because I knew that ultimately if I made the business healthy, I was going to be able to take better and better care of my clients. But it also kept me from procrastinating. And let's be honest, it's really easy. And when we have big things that require thinking or creativity out of us, it's very easy to procrastinate on those things. So I would find myself responding to emails instead of writing a speech or writing a blog post. And then I would get busy with client work and not do these higher value activities. So speaking and writing consistently, that grows a business. And I started thinking about that as my $10,000 an hour time. Just for kicks, I'm curious, how much do you think showed up in my business the week I wrote that first blog post, my $10,000 an hour time, right? How much money do you think showed up in the business? If you guessed $0, you'd be correct. So why do I consider that time to be $10,000 an hour time? Well, it's the impact of that activity compounding over time that has built this business. And at Tap the Potential, we have a motto: small steps forward, taken in a consistent direction, lead to big change over time. And just to give you a concrete example of how powerful the compounding effect of these small steps forward can be, I want to show you what happened with these blog posts. So I found my very first blog post that I ever wrote. It's called Saying No When It's Not That Simple. It's still out there in internet land. And these blog posts became the foundation of our systems that we teach our clients at Tap the Potential, that we've taught for 20 years. They helped me to hone and refine my thinking because I was writing about the problems and challenges our clients have and the solutions I was providing to them. And that became the basis for our systems at Tap the Potential. So, first thing that happened is it helped start building Tap the Potential. But then over time, we've shifted from blog posts to podcasting, and we've been podcasting on the Profit by Design podcast now for years. We have consistently dropped an episode, one per week, on the Profit by Design podcast, and that has resulted in us being ranked highly in different podcast ranking systems because of the power of consistency and our focus on serving our top clients with highly valuable content that is impactful and makes a difference for them. So that started to pay off. These blog posts also transformed into my books in the How to Hire the Best series and the 4 Week Vacation. When I finally wrote the 4 Week Vacation, that book felt effortless because 90% of it had already been written through the blog posts over the years. And we just had to compile it and put it into a book format and tell the story through those blog posts. These blog posts got me featured in Entrepreneur, Forbes, Thrive Global, the Arkansas Business Review. I have a monthly column there. And most recently, these blog posts resulted in me landing a TEDx talk. And by the way, if you want to check out my TEDx talk, it's called From Burnout to Balance. The point here is the power of consistency of doing your $10,000 an hour activities. Those small steps forward taken in a consistent direction have led to big change over time. And yet, there are so many ways we undermine ourselves when it comes to doing our $10,000 an hour activity consistently. We can fill our days with filler, with emails, phone calls. We get into reactive mode and we don't have time for the important things. I want to break down for you why, when you focus on your $10,000 an hour activities, you only need to do like 8 hours a week at the most of $10,000 an hour activity to really have a big impact in your business. And you're probably familiar with the 80-20 principle. The 80-20 principle tells us that 20% of our efforts are responsible for 80% of our results. Just let that sink in. 20% of our efforts are responsible for 80% of our results. So, circling back to how I opened our discussion today, if you're working a 40-hour work week, only 8 hours of that week are going to be responsible for the results you get over time, right? Thinking about what you want to accomplish, the experiences you want to have in the next 1 to 2 years, the opportunities you want to pursue, the wins and successes that you want to have over the next 2 years. Really, only about 8 hours a week of your time is going to be responsible for getting you those results. So we can cut the fluff, we can cut the extra. What I've noticed as I've coached business owners, thousands of them now over 20 years, is that most of us spend way too much time doing tasks that are worth $10 to $50 an hour and far too little time working on our gifts in our zone of genius. So I developed this chart of $10,000 an hour activities for myself because I knew I needed a constant reminder in front of me of the highest value use of my time to remind me, like, hey, am I doing a $10 an hour task, or is what I'm doing right now worth $10,000 an hour? So I created this chart for myself. I printed it out, I laminated it, and I put it behind my computer monitor so that my eye falls on it all the time. And let me tell you, there is nothing more powerful than being hunkered down for, a good 2 hours on work, feeling busy, right? And then looking up and your eye falling on that chart at $10,000 an hour activities. And for me, the realization, oh my gosh, I just spent 2 hours lost in email responding to other people's requests of me. And I haven't done this other thing over here that's going to move the needle in the business. So that chart, I encourage you, download it, tapthepotential.com/10K, print it out, laminate it, put it on the wall behind your computer monitor where your eye sees it daily. And the other thing that started to happen with this chart of $10,000 an hour activities is I got really good at delegating. And I brought on first a virtual assistant to help me with some things. And then there were other things that started happening and our team started growing. And I hired more and more people to take more and more of the $10 and $50 an hour work off my plate. But then I noticed something. The people that I had hired were getting overwhelmed and they were busy, and all of a sudden they lacked capacity to focus on their higher value activities. And so, what I realized is that my team needed to know what their $10,000 an hour activity was, just like I needed to know what my own $10,000 an hour activity was and to focus there. And so this chart of $10,000 an hour activities becomes an incredible delegation tool in your business because you want everyone in your business working from their strengths and adding value by doing things that make everything else easier or unnecessary. When you look at the Tap the Potential solution and you notice that step 4 is to build your lean and mighty team, lean is the key word there. Lean drives profitability. Our payroll in our business is typically one of the biggest expenses. And when we have team members on our payroll that we're paying over 50,000 a year and they are doing $10 an hour activities, we are not leveraging their strengths. So you want to know what your team members' strengths are. You want to align their strengths with the results that they're responsible for delivering and get them super focused on that. And then look at everything else they're doing. A lot of it can be delegated. So, speaking of delegation, I want to share an interesting statistic with you. Research conducted by Julian Birkinshaw, professor of the London Business School, and Jordan Cohen, chief people officer at Lumanity, indicates that knowledge workers, that's us, spend a significant amount of time, on average, 41%, on discretionary activities that offer us little to no personal satisfaction and can be competently handled by others. If we are working, let's say, for example, a 50-hour work week, 41% of our time translates to 20 hours. So if we think about, okay, so only 20% of our efforts are going to be responsible for 80% of our results, and that means about 8 hours in a 40-hour work week. And then we couple that with this research that shows that we're spending about 41% of our time on discretionary activities that don't give us any satisfaction and could be competently handled by others, including AI. So others means other people or AI could be doing these things. Now we're freeing up another 20 hours in our work week. So this is where I think a lot of us business owners, quite honestly, delude ourselves because we tell ourselves we enjoy the bookkeeping and that's why we don't hire a bookkeeper, or we enjoy taking our laptop to the beach and running payroll because we don't want to hire somebody to do our bookkeeping for us. All those things that we say to justify all the extra busyness that we are doing in our business. Every single one of us needs to be identifying what our unique strengths are and focusing our time, that $10,000 an hour time, that 8 hours a week, on doing activities from our strengths that makes everything else easier or unnecessary for ourselves or others on our team. That is how you build a business with a lean team of A players and you keep your payroll lean, because payroll is one of the biggest expenses in our business. Whenever we can have fewer people on our payroll because we are working in a highly focused way, with each person knowing the results they're responsible for delivering, and they're working from their strength to deliver those results, and they're asking that question of how can I make things easier or unnecessary for myself or others, then everybody on the team is working on their highest value contribution. You don't need as many team members. You can pay your A players on your team more because you don't have as many team members. And then when you bring in AI and you teach your A players how to utilize AI to do their $10,000 an hour time, now that's like $10,000 an hour time on steroids in your business. So I hope that you're starting to see the possibilities here, that your time can be freed up significantly. There's a lot of opportunities hiding in plain sight in your business for you to be delegating. And the other piece that is so beautiful in all of this is the number one thing that A players are looking for. It's not money, it's opportunities for growth. That's what A players crave. So every time you're hanging on to a $10 or $50 an hour task because you feel guilty, you don't want to burden somebody else with it, really what you're doing is you're creating a glass ceiling in your business where your team members can only go so far because you're hanging on to things. So, my hope is that by sharing this mentality with you, the mindset of thinking about your time as being worth $10,000 an hour and looking to get everything off your plate that is not your $10,000 an hour time, it's going to get your business and you on this trajectory where you are going to build a business that supports your life, that can give you more time for what matters most to you. And if you follow us and implement the Tap the Potential solution, which we teach you in our Better Business, Better Life program, you will have that business that pays you more, that allows you to have the profit and the owner's pay that you absolutely deserve, in addition to time freedom, so that you can really spend your time in areas that matter most to you. So, your next step is to take our assessment at tapthepotential.com/assessment. The Better Business, Better Life assessment will zero in immediately on what your $10,000 an hour activities are that you need to be focusing on right now. So head on over to tapthepotential.com/assessment. Takes about 14 minutes to take that assessment. And then you're going to immediately see your opportunity of what the $10,000 an hour time is in your business. And when you take our assessment, you're essentially applying for a consultation with a member of our team to sit down with you and talk to you about your $10,000 an hour time, so you can really have a clear action plan to take action on what you've learned here today. Thank you for investing your time here with me.